Hello, my name is Arshia, and I'm from Aspen Elementary School. I'm in 5th grade, and my speech is a poem named The Spider and the Fly, and it's by Mary Howitt. Will you walk into our parlor? Said a spider to a fly. 'Tis the prettiest little parlor that ever you did spy. The way into my parlor is up a winding stair, and I've many pretty things to show you when you are there. Oh, no, no, said the little fly. To ask me is in vain, for who goes up your winding stair can ne'er come down again. I'm sure you must be weary with soaring up so high. Will you rest upon my little bed? Said the spider to the fly. There are pretty curtains drawn around, the sheets are fine and thin, and if you like to rest a while, I'll snugly tuck you in. Oh, no, no, said the little fly, for I've often heard it said, they never, never wake again who sleep upon your bed. Said the cunning spider to the fly, dear friend, what shall I do to prove the warm affection I've always felt for you? I have, within my pantry, good store of all that's nice. I'm sure you're very welcome. Will you please to take a slice? Oh, no, no, said the little fly. Kind sir, that cannot be. I've heard what's in your pantry, and I do not wish to see. Sweet creature, said the spider, you're witty and you're wise. How handsome are your gauzy wings, how brilliant are your eyes. I have a little looking glass upon my parlor shelf. If you'll step in one moment, dear, you shall behold yourself. I thank you, gentle sir, she said, for what you're pleased to say, and bidding you good morning now, I'll call another day. The spider turned him round about, and went into his den. For well he knew the silly fly would soon be back again, so he wove a subtle web in a little corner sly, and set his table ready to dine upon the fly. He went out to his door again, and merrily did sing, come hither, hither, pretty fly, with pearl and silver wing. Your robes are green and purple, there's a crest upon your head. Your eyes are like the diamond bright, but mine are dull as lead. Alas, alas, how very soon the silly little fly, hearing his wily flattering words, came slowly flitting by. With buzzing wings she hung aloft, and nearer drew. Thought only of her brilliant eyes and green and purple hue. Thought only of her crested head. Poor foolish thing! At last up jumped the cunning spider, and fiercely held her fast. He dragged her up his winding stair into his dismal den, within his little parlor, but she ne'er came out again. And now, dear little children, who may the story read, to idle, silly, flattering words, I pray you ne'er give heed. Unto an evil counselor, close heart and ear and eye, and take a lesson from this tale of the spider and the fly.
Have you ever heard of Martin Luther King Jr.? I'm sure you have. Hi, my name is Campbell Washnock, and I will be saying the ending of I Have a Dream speech by Martin Luther King Jr. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, every hill and mountain shall be made low, the rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is the faith that I'll go back to the South with. With this faith, we'll be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we'll be able to transform our jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we'll be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we'll be free one day. This will be the day. This will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with a new meaning. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside, let freedom ring. And if America is to be a great nation, so this must become true, let freedom ring from the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire. Let freedom ring from the mighty mountains of New York. Let freedom ring from the heightening Alleghenies of Pennsylvania. Let freedom ring from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado. Let freedom ring from the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from the let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And when this happens and we allow freedom ring, and when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, every state and every city, we'll be able to speed up the day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
Hi, I'm Rebecca. I'm a 5th grader at Bronco Mesa Elementary, and my speech is The Hill We Climb by Amanda Gorman. When day comes, we ask ourselves, where can we find light in this never-ending shade? The loss we carry, a sea we must wade. We braved the belly of the beast. We've learned that quiet isn't always peace, and the norms and notions of what just isn't always justice. And yet the dawn is ours before we knew it. Somehow we do it. Somehow we've weathered and witnessed a nation that isn't broken, but simply unfinished. We, the successors of a country and a time, where a skinny black girl, descended from slaves and raised by a single mother, can dream of becoming president, only to find herself reciting for one. And yes, we are far from polished, far from pristine, but that doesn't mean we aren't striving to form a union that is perfect. We are striving to forge a union with purpose, to compose a country committed to all cultures, colors, characters, and conditions of man. And so we lift our gaze not to what stands between us, but to what stands before us. We close the divide because we know to put our future first. We must first put our differences aside. We lay down our arms so we can reach out our arms to one another. We seek harm to none and harmony for all. Let the globe, if nothing else, say this is true. That even as we grieved, we grew. That even as we hurt, we hoped. That even as we tired, we tried. That we'll forever be tied together, victorious, not because we will never again know defeat, but because we will never again sow division. Scripture tells us to envision that everyone shall sit under their own vine and fig tree, and no one shall make them afraid. If we're to live up to our own time, then victory won't lie in the blade, but in all the bridges we've made. That is the promised glade. The hill we climb, if only we dare it, because being American is more than a pride we inherit. It's the past we step into and how we repair it. We've seen a force that would shatter our nation rather than share it, would destroy our country if it meant delaying democracy. And this effort very nearly succeeded. But while democracy can be periodically delayed, it can never be permanently defeated. In this truth, in this faith we trust. For while we have our eyes on the future, history has its eyes on us. This is the era of just redemption. We feared at its inception. We did not feel prepared to be the heirs of such a terrifying hour. But within it, we found the power to author a new chapter, to offer hope and laughter to ourselves so. While once we asked, how can we possibly prevail over catastrophe? Now we assert, how could catastrophe possibly prevail over us? We will not march back to what was, but move to what shall be. A country that is bruised but whole, benevolent but bold, fierce and free. We will not be turned around or interrupted by intimidation, because we know that our inaction and inertia will be the inheritance of the next generation. Our blunders become their burdens. But one thing is certain. If we mix mercy with might, and might with right, then love becomes our legacy and change our children's birthright. So let us leave behind a country better than the one we were left. We will raise this wounded world into a wondrous one. We will rise from the golden hills of the west. We will rise from the windswept northeast, where our forefathers first realized revolution. We will rise from the lakeland cities of the Midwestern states. We will rise from the sunbanked south. We will rebuild, reconcile, and recover. In every nook of our nation, and every corner called our country, our people, diverse and beautiful, will emerge battered and beautiful. When day comes, we step out of the shade, aflame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it, for there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it.
Hi, my name is Anna Simikoff, and I will be performing the chapter from the book The World is Your Litter Box by Steve Fisher and Kwasi the Cat. The title of the chapter is How to Get Your Human to Think and Act Like a Complete Idiot. Well, they will never admit it. All humans, CEOs of major corporations, ruthless politicians, spoiled professional athletes, slithery authorities, all humans, if properly manipulated by a cat, can be reduced to a level of behavior that would embarrass the Three Stooges. When things get a little dull around the old homestead, I like to liven them up by getting Steve to perform for me. Being a music connoisseur, I especially enjoy it when he sings, and the louder and more off-key, the better. Of course, depending on my mood, I might select from a variety of other types of human performances. All madcap, all hilarious. Quite frankly, there's nothing quite like getting your human to act like an utter nincompoop, purely for your own amusement, a skill no self-respecting cat can do without. For some reason, we cats have an uncanny ability to bring out the best, or worst, in our humans with a very little effort. Humans can be a great source of entertainment and laughs if you know what to do. The first thing is to assess the premier areas of your human's potential for goofiness. And remember, all humans have this capacity. Do they sing? Do they talk baby talk? Do they imitate your meows? Do they pick you up and hug you and get all gooey and gushy? All humans can be easily duped into acting like complete idiots. Why, I'll bet even Sox Clinton had old Bill singing to him in the privacy of the Oval Office. Once you have targeted your human's specific talents, or lack thereof, choose a proper time to lift a performance. Most humans are rather shy and will not perform for you while other humans are around. If you try and get your human to sing, or whatever, in the presence of other humans, you will be gravely disappointed. You must wait until you are alone with them. Also, pick a time when they are in a reasonably good mood. For example, if your human has just been notified that the IRS wants to audit their tax returns for the last 10 years or so, they won't feel much like singing or dancing. You must wait until you have private, quality kitty time with your human. Then, and only then, will they feel completely uninhibited and free to let their talents and lunacy soar. Once you have selected the type of performance and the right time, you're ready to settle back for some tummy-tickling laughs at your human's expense, and that's entertainment. How do you get your human to act like a complete idiot for your own amusement? It's so ridiculously simple, even a kitten can do it. You simply meow a couple of times and look cute. Yes, fellow cats, the mere sound of your voice and cuteness of your face is all it takes to push your human's craziness button and unleash a command performance. It's that simple. Let's look at a few examples. Steve has a predilection for making up songs that incorporate the name of whatever food he's giving me and singing them to me at the top of his lungs. Some are quite clever, actually. My favorite song is Ocean Whitefish Treat. When opening up a can and dishing it up, Steve throws his head back like Corso and sings to the tune of the chorus of Jingle Bells. Ocean whitefish, ocean whitefish, ocean whitefish treat. It's good for cats, it's good for cats, it's good for cats to eat. I never get tired of hearing Ocean Whitefish Treat. It always gives me a laugh or two or three. And once, on a hot summer day, Steve forgot the kitchen window was open, as was our neighbor's just across the driveway. You can only imagine the extra yucks I had when, towards the end of the song, Steve realized that he had just treated our neighbor to a soaring, ringing rendition of Ocean Whitefish Treats. What a memorable laughing riot that was. I also frequently amuse myself by having conversations with Steve. I simply come up to him and meow loudly. From that point, the discussion generally goes something like this. Me. Meow. Steve. Quasi. What? Me. Row. Steve. Row. Me. Row. Steve. Row. Me. Meow. Steve. Meow. Me. Steve, and so on. I've got Steve so well trained I could sit and talk with him for half an hour or so if I wanted to. Try this on your human. It's good interactive fun. I also like to get Steve to pick me up and hug me, which quickly reduces him into baby talking much as he is overcome by my kitty cuteness. It is also reassuring to hear him say, "Are you the best kitty in the whole wide world?" "Oh, yes, you are," as he's rubbing his nose against mine. I can also quite easily get this female to pick me up, which causes her to tell me how wonderful I am and smother me with kisses. All this loving is great when I'm feeling a little insecure and need reassurance that I am, in fact, the best kitty in the whole world. Actually, all cats are the best kitties in the world to their human. There is no limit to the amount of fun you can have with your human, and it's so easy. Once again, it's meow a couple of times, look cute. Remember, fellow cat, your human was put on Earth to cater your every wanted whim. Don't be afraid to tap into this plentiful source of entertainment and amusement. You'll be glad you did.
Hi, my name is Bella Yusuf, and I'll be doing Thomas's Snowsuit by Robert Munsch. One day, Thomas's mother brought home a nice new brown snowsuit. When Thomas saw that snowsuit, he said, "That is the ugliest snowsuit I've ever seen in my life. If you think that I'm going to wear that ugly snowsuit, you're crazy." Thomas's mother said, "We'll see about that." The next day, when it was time to go to school, Thomas's mother said, "Thomas, please put on your snowsuit." Thomas said, "No." His mother jumped up and down and said, "Thomas, put on your snowsuit." Thomas said, "No." Thomas's mother picked up Thomas in one hand, picked up the snowsuit in the other hand, tried to stick them together. They had an enormous fight, and when it was done, Thomas was in his snowsuit. Thomas went off to school and hung up his snowsuit. When it was time to go outside, all the other kids jumped into their snowsuits and ran out the door, but not Thomas. The teacher looked at Thomas and said, "Thomas, please put on your snowsuit." Thomas said, "No." The teacher jumped up and down and said, "Thomas, put on your snowsuit." Thomas said, "No." The teacher picked up Thomas in one hand, picked up the snowsuit in the other hand, tried to stick them together. They had an enormous fight. And when it was done, the teacher was wearing Thomas's snowsuit, and Thomas was wearing the teacher's dress. When the teacher saw what she was wearing, she picked up Thomas in one hand and tried to get him back into his snowsuit. They had an enormous fight. And when it was done, the dress and the snowsuit were tied in a big knot on the floor, and Thomas and the teacher in their underclothes. Just then, the door opened and in walked the principal. The teacher said, "It's Thomas. He won't put on his snowsuit." The principal gave his very best principal look and said, "Thomas, put on your snowsuit." Thomas said, "No." The principal picked up Thomas in one hand, picked up the teacher in the other hand, tried to get him back into their clothes. When he was done, the principal was wearing the teacher's dress, and the teacher was wearing the principal's suit. And Thomas was still in his underclothes. And then from far out in the playground, someone yelled, "Thomas, come play!" Thomas ran across the room, jumped into his snowsuit, got his boots on in 2 seconds, and ran out the door. When the principal looked at the teacher and said, "Hey, you have on my suit. Take it off right now." The teacher said, "Oh no, you have on my dress. You take it off first." Well, they argued and argued and argued. Neither one wanted to change first. Just then, Thomas came in from recess, looked at the principal, looked at the teacher, picked up the principal in one hand, picked up the teacher in the other hand, and tried to get them back into their clothes. They had an enormous fight. When it was done, he got everybody back into their clothes. The next day, the principal quit his job, moved to Arizona, where nobody ever wore snowsuits.
Hello, I'm Noah from Aspen Elementary, and this letter from Smolder to Vermilion is found at the back of Book 5 of Wings of Fire, The Brightest Night, and the author is Tweety Sutherland. Dear Vermilion, greetings from the Kingdom of Sand to the Sky Kingdom. My sister tells me you might get a pet scavenger like mine. It is a splendid idea. They are highly entertaining. But I must warn you, scavengers are not easy pets to keep. Mine is probably the only one to have survived longer than 5 years. So, might I offer some advice? Rule 1. Protect your scavenger. Someone will definitely try to eat her, whether by accident or not. I recommend you clearly label your scavenger with some kind of collar or bell. If you make the collar sparkly, the scavenger will probably love it. They adore shiny things. Keep in mind that scavengers have no natural weapons, no claws, no wings, no scales, no fire, and absolutely useless teeth. Also, they are shockingly squishy, so don't squeeze them, even lovingly, or shake them, even if they are wicked, or poke them too hard. They also love making things with their little paws, so Rule 2 is protect your belongings. Nothing to anything made of cloth, say a favorite blanket, or new curtains, for instance. Keep it far out of the reach of your scavenger. Otherwise, it will end up with tiny holes in it, and those scraps of cloth will be transformed into mysterious scavenger coverings. They must get rather cold, as for all the scavengers I've seen come wrapped in fabric at all times. As for care and feeding your scavenger, they eat a lot more than you expect for their tiny size, and prefer meat only after it's been set on fire. I offered Flower a live desert mouse once, and later learned she'd kept it as a pet. They also require a daily supply of fresh water and get very floppy or very loud if you don't provide it. Remember, scavengers are endangered and can be hard to acquire, as the few that are left are increasingly skilled at hiding from dragons. And I've heard some are impossible to tame, too. And there's always those stories of pet scavengers trying to stab their owners in the middle of the night. But Flower has always remained a loyal, amusing pet, and I am terribly fond of her. So I say, don't listen to all those rumors. Worst case scenario, if your scavenger is wildly annoying, you can always eat him. Best of luck. And do send me a picture of your scavenger whenever you get it. My scavenger drew this picture of us herself. Isn't she clever? I like the fierce look on her face here. Rather good likeness to me too, I must say. Wishing you bright suns and strong winds, Smolder.
I Want an Iguana by Karen Kaufman Orloff. Dear Mom, I know you don't think I should get Mikey Gilligan's baby iguana when he moves, but here's why. If I don't get it, Stinky will, and Stinky's dog Lurch will eat it. You don't want that to happen, do you? Signed, your sensitive son, Alex. Dear Alex, I'm glad you're so compassionate, but I doubt that Stinky's mom will let Lurch into the iguana's cage. Nice try, though. Love, Mom. Dear Mom, did you know that iguanas are really quiet and cute, too? I think iguanas are much cuter than hamsters. Signed, your adorable son, Alex. Dear Alex, tarantulas are quiet, too, but I wouldn't want one as a pet. Also, that iguana of Mikey's is uglier than Godzilla. Just thought I'd mention that. Love, Mom. Dear Mom, you wouldn't even see the iguana. I'd keep his cage in my room on my dresser next to my soccer trophies. Plus, he's so small, you'll barely even know he's there. Love, your in a zillion and one kisses, Alex. Dear Alex, iguanas can grow up to 6 feet long. You won't have enough space in your room, let alone your soccer dresser, or your dresser, with or without trophies. Love, Mom. Dear Mom, it takes 15 years for an iguana to grow that big. Mikey told me. Plus, I'll probably be married by then, living in my own house. Love, your smart and mature kid, Alex. Dear Alex, how will you get a girl to marry you if you have a 6 feet long reptile? Love, your concerned mother. Dear Mom, forget the girl, I need a friend now. The iguana could be the brother I've always wanted. Love, your lonely child, Alex. Dear Alex, you have a brother. Love, Mom. Dear Mom, I know I have a brother, but I could teach the iguana tricks and things. Ethan doesn't do tricks and things, he just burps. Love, your grossed out son, Alex. Dear Alex, how do I know I can trust you? Remember when you took home the class fish? Love, Mom. Dear Mom, if I knew that the fish would jump into the spaghetti sauce, I would have took the jar off. Love, your son who has learned his lesson, Alex. P.S. Iguanas don't like spaghetti. Dear Alex, let's say me and Dad put you on a trial basis. What exactly would you do to take care of it? Love, Mom. Dear Mom, I would feed it every day and clean his cage and make sure it had enough water. Also, I would pay for the lettuce with my own allowance. How much can a baby iguana eat? Love, Alex the financial wizard. P.S. What's a trial basis? Dear Alex, a trial basis is where me and Dad see how well you do for a week or two with the iguana to see how well you can take care of it to decide whether you can have it forever or not. Love, Mom. Dear Alex, look on your dresser. Yes, 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 thank you.
I'm John from 5th grade, Barranca Mesa. The Danger of Silence by Clint Smith, edited. My speech is from a TED Talk given by Clint Smith, a writer for The Atlantic and a teacher. It is titled The Danger of Silence. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., in a 1968 speech where he reflects upon the civil rights movement, states, "In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends." As a teacher, I've internalized this message. Every day, all around us, we see the consequences of silence manifest themselves in the form of discrimination, violence, genocide, and war. In the classroom, I challenge my students to explore the silences in their own lives through poetry. We work together to fill those spaces, to recognize them, to name them, to understand that they do not have to be sources of shame. In an effort to create a culture within my classroom where students feel safe sharing the intimacies of their own silences, I have 4 core principles posted on the board that sits in the front of the classroom, which every student signs at the beginning of the year. Read critically, write consciously, speak clearly, tell your truth. And I find myself thinking a lot about that last point, tell your truth. And I realized, if I'm going to ask my students to speak up, I'm going to have to tell my truth and be honest about the times where I failed to do so. So I tell them that growing up as a kid in a Catholic family in New Orleans, during Lent, I was always taught that the most meaningful thing one could do was to give something up, sacrifice something you typically indulge in to prove to God you understand His sanctity. I've given up soda, McDonald's, French fries, French pastries, and everything in between. But one year, I gave up speaking. I figured the most valuable thing I could sacrifice was my own voice, but it was like I hadn't realized I had given that up a long time ago. I spent so much of my life telling people the things they wanted to hear instead of the things they needed to. Told myself I wasn't meant to be anyone's conscience because I still had to figure out being my own. So sometimes I just wouldn't say anything, appeasing ignorance with my silence, unaware that validation doesn't need words to endorse its existence. I'm going to have to tell my truth and be honest about the times where I failed to do so. When an acquaintance named Christian was beat up for being gay, I put my hands in my pockets and walked with my head down, as if I didn't even notice. I couldn't use my locker for weeks because the bolt on the lock reminded me of the one I had put on my lips when the homeless man on the corner looked at me with eyes up, merely searching for an affirmation that he was worth seeing. I was more concerned with touching the screen of my Apple than actually feeding him one. When the woman at the fundraising gala said, "I'm so proud of you. It must be so hard teaching these poor, unintelligent kids," I bit my lip, because apparently we needed her money more than my students needed their dignity. We spend so much time listening to the things people are saying that we rarely pay attention to the things they don't. Silence is the residue of fear. It is the feeling your flaws gut-wrench guillotine your tongue. It is the air retreating from your chest because it doesn't feel safe in your lungs. Silence is Rwandan genocide. Silence is Katrina. It is what you hear when there aren't enough body bags left. It is the sound after the noose is already tied. It is charring. It is chains. It is privilege. It is pain. There is no time to pick your battles when your battles have already picked you. I will not let silence wrap itself around my indecision. I will tell Christian that in honestly standing up for his choices, he is a lion, a sanctuary of bravery and brilliance. I will ask that homeless man what his name is and how his day was, because sometimes all people want to be is human. I will tell that woman that my students can talk about transcendentalism like their last name was Thoreau, and that just because you watched one episode of The Wire doesn't mean you know anything about my kids. So this year, instead of giving something up, I will live every day as if there was a microphone tucked under my tongue, a stage on the underside of my inhibition. Because who needs to have a soapbox when all you've ever needed is your voice? Thank you.
Congratulations, today is your day. You're off to great places, you're off and away. You have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself any direction you choose. You're on your own and you know what you know. And you are the guy who'll decide where to go. You'll look up and down streets, look them over with care. About some you might say, I don't choose to go there. With your head full of brains and your shoes full of feet, you're too smart to go down any not so good street. And you may not find any you want to go down. In that case, of course, you'll head straight out of town. It's opener there in the wide open air. Out there, things can happen, and frequently do, to people as brainy and footsy as you. And then things start to happen. Don't worry, don't stoop, just go right along, you'll start happening too. Oh, the places you'll go. You'll be on your way up, you'll be seeing great sights. You'll join the high flyers who soar to high heights. You won't lag behind because you'll have the speed. You'll pass the whole gang and you'll soon take the lead. Wherever you fly, you'll be best of the best. Wherever you go, you will top all the rest. Except when you don't, because sometimes you won't. I'm sorry to say so, but sadly it's true, that bang-ups and hang-ups can happen to you. You can get all hung up in a prickly perch, and your gang will fly on, you'll be left in a lurch. You'll come down from the lurch with an unpleasant bump, and the chances are then that you'll be in a slump. And when you're in a slump, you're not in for much fun, and slumping yourself is not easily done. You'll come to a place where the streets are not marked. Some windows are lighted, but mostly they're dark. A place you could sprain both your elbow and chin. Do you dare to stay out? Do you dare to go in? How much could you lose? How much could you win? And if you go in, should you turn left or right? Or right and 3/4, or maybe not quite? Or go around back and sneak in from behind? Simple it's not, I'm afraid you will find, from mind maker upper to make up his mind. You can get so confused that you'll start into race down long wiggled roads at a breaknecking pace, and grind on for miles across weirdish wild space, headed, I fear, toward a most useless place, the waiting place, for people just waiting. Waiting for a train to go, or a bus to come, or a plane to go, or the mail to come, or the rain to go, or the phone to ring, or the snow to snow, or waiting around for a yes or no, or waiting for your hair to grow. Everyone is just waiting. Or waiting for the fish to bite, or waiting for the wind to fly a kite, or waiting around for Friday night, or waiting perhaps for their Uncle Jake, or a pot to boil, or a better break, or a string of pearls, or a pair of pants, or a wig with curls, or another chance. Everyone is just waiting. No, that's not for you. Somehow you'll escape all this waiting and staying, and find the bright places where boom bands are playing, with banner flip flapping. Once more you'll ride high, ready for anything under the sky, ready because you're that kind of guy. Oh, the places you'll go, there is fun to be done, there are points to be scored, there are games to be won, and the magical things you can do with that ball will make you the winningest winner of all. Fame, you'll be as famous can be, with the whole wide world watching you win on TV. Except when they don't, because sometimes they won't. I'm afraid that sometimes you'll play the lonely games too. Games can't win because you'll play against you. All alone, whether you like it or not. Alone is something you'll be quite a lot. And when you're alone, there's a very good chance you'll meet things that scare you right out of your pants. There are some down the road between hither and yon that can scare you so much you won't want to go on. But on you'll go, though the weather be foul. On you'll go, though the hack and cracks howl. Onward up many a frightening creek, though your arms may get sore and your sneakers may leak. On and on you will hike, and I know you'll hike far, to face up to your problems, whatever they are. You'll get mixed up, of course, as you already know. You'll get mixed up with many strange birds as you go. So just remember when you step with care and great tact, and remember that life's a great balancing act. And never forget to be dexterous and deft, and never mix up your right foot with your left. And will you succeed? Yes, you will indeed. 98 3/4% guaranteed. Kid, you'll move mountains, so be your name Bucksbam or Bixby or Bray or Mordecai, Allie Van Allen O'Shea. You're off to great places. Today is your day. Your mountain is waiting, so get on your way.
Hi, I'm Mikey, and I'm doing Never Give Up speech by Jim Valvano. I have to remember the first speech I ever gave. I was coaching at Rutgers University. That was my first job. And I was a freshman coach. That's when freshmen played on freshman teams. And I was so fired up about my first job. I see Lou Holtz, Coach Holtz here, who doesn't like the very first job you had, the very first time you stood in the locker room to give a pep talk. That's a special place, in the locker room, for a coach to give a talk. So my idol as a coach is Vince Lombardi, and I read this book called Commitment to Excellence by Vince Lombardi. And in the book, Lombardi talked about the first time he spoke before his Green Bay Packers team in the locker room, and they were perennial losers. I'm reading this, and Lombardi was thinking, should it be a long talk or a short talk? But he wanted it to be emotional, so it would be brief. So here's what I did. Normally you'd get in the locker room, 25 minutes, half an hour before the team takes the field. You do little X's and O's, and then you give the great Newt Rockne talk. We all do. Speech number 84. You pull them right out. You get ready. You get your squad ready. Well, this is the first one I ever gave, and I read this thing. Lombardi, what he said was he didn't go in. He waited. His team was wondering, where is he? Where is this great coach? He's not there. 10 minutes, he's still not there. 3 minutes before they could take the field, Lombardi comes in, bangs the door open. And I think you all remember what great presence he had. Great presence. And he walked in, and he walked back and forth like this, staring at the players. And he said, all eyes on me. I'm reading this, and I'm getting this picture of Lombardi before his first game. And he said, gentlemen, we will be successful this year if you can focus on 3 things and 3 things only. Your family, your religion, and the Green Bay Packers. They knocked the walls down. The rest was history. I said, that's beautiful. I'm going to do that. Family, religion, Rutgers basketball. That's it. I had it. Listen, I'm 21 years old. The kids I'm coaching are 19. And I'm going to be the greatest coach in the world, the next Lombardi. And I'm practicing outside the locker room. And the managers were telling me, you got to go in. Not yet, not yet. Family, religion, Rutgers basketball. I got it. Finally, they said 3 minutes. I said, fine. True story. I go to knock the doors down just like Lombardi. Boom! They didn't open. I almost broke my arm. Now I was down. The players were looking. Help the coach out. Help him out. And now I did like Lombardi. I walked back and forth, going like that with my arm to get the feeling back in it. Finally, I said, gentlemen, all eyes on me. These kids want to play. They're 19. Let's go, I said. Gentlemen, we'll be successful this year if you can focus on 3 things and 3 things only. Your family, your religion, and the Green Bay Packers, I told them. I did that. I remember that. It's so important to know where you are. I know where I am right now. How do you go from where you are to where you want to be? I think you have to have an enthusiasm for life. You have to have a dream, a goal. You have to be willing to work for it. Thank you.
The Hill We Climb by Amanda Gorman. When day comes, we ask ourselves, where can we find light in this never-ending shade? The loss we carry, a sea we must wade. We've braved the belly of the beast. We've learned that quiet isn't always peace. And the norms and notions of what just isn't always justice. And yet the dawn is ours before we knew it. Somehow we do it. Somehow we've weathered and witnessed a nation that isn't broken, but simply unfinished. And we the successors of a country and a time where a skinny black girl descended from slaves, raised by a single mother, can dream of becoming president, only to find herself reciting for one. And yes, we are far from polished, far from pristine, but that doesn't mean we are striving to form a union that is perfect. We are striving to form a union that has purpose, to compose a country committed to all cultures, colors, characters, and conditions of men. And so we lift our gazes not to what stands between us, but what stands before us. We close the divide because we know, to put our future first, we must first put our differences aside. We lay down our arms to reach out our arms to one another. We seek harm to none and harmony for all. Let the globe, if nothing else, say this is true, that even as we grieved, we grew, that even as we hurt, we hoped, that even as we tired, we tried, that we will forever be tied together, victorious, not because we will never again know defeat, but because we will never again sow division. Scripture tells us to envision that everyone shall sit under their own vine and fig tree, and no one shall make us afraid. If we're to live up to our own time, then victory won't lie in the blade, but in all the bridges we've made. That is the promise to Glade, the hill we climb, if only we dare. It's because being American is more than the pride we inherit. It's the past we step into and how we repair it. We've seen a force that would shatter our nation rather than share it, would destroy our country if it meant delaying democracy, and this effort very nearly succeeded. But while democracy can be periodically delayed, it can never be permanently defeated. In this truth, in this faith we trust, for while we have our eyes on the future, history has its eyes on us. This is the era of just redemption. We feared at its inception. We did not feel prepared to be the heirs of such a terrifying hour, but within it we found the power to author a new chapter, to offer hope and laughter to ourselves. So while we once asked, how could we possibly prevail over catastrophe? Now we assert, how could catastrophe possibly prevail over us? We will not march back to what was, but move to what shall be, a country that is bruised but whole,
benevolent but bold, fierce and free. We will not be turned around or interrupted by intimidation, because we know our inaction and inertia will be the inheritance of the next generation. Our blunders become their burdens, but one thing is certain. If we merge mercy with might and might with right, then love becomes our legacy and change our children's birthright. So let us leave behind a country better than the one we were left with. Every breath from my bronze-pounded chest, we will raise this wounded world into a wondrous one. We will rise from the gold-limbed hills of the west. We will rise from the wind-swept northeast, where our forefathers first realized revolution. We will rise from the lake-rimmed cities of the Midwestern states. We will rise from the sun-baked South. We will rebuild, reconcile, and recover. And every known nook of our nation and every corner called our country, our people, diverse and beautiful, will emerge battered and beautiful. When day comes, we step out of the shade, aflame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it. For there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it. If only we're brave enough to be it. Thank you.
Have you ever looked at something from someone else's point of view? Hi, I'm Samantha Clayton, and I'll be performing If Trees Could Speak by Elif Shafak. Humans do not see trees. They walk by us every day. They sit and sleep, smoke and picnic, and secretly kiss in our shade. They pluck our leaves and gorge on our fruits. They break our branches or carve their lovers' names into our trunks with their blades and vow eternal love. They weave necklaces out of our needles and paint our flowers into art. They split us into logs to heat their homes, and sometimes they chop us down just because they think we obstruct their view. They make cradles, wine corks, chewing gum, rustic furniture, and they produce the most beautiful music out of us. And they turn us into books in which they bury themselves on cold winter nights. They use our wood to manufacture coffins in which they end their lives, and they even compose the most romantic poems for us, claiming we're the link between earth and sky. And yet, they do not see us. So one of the many beauties of the art of storytelling is to imagine yourself inside someone else's voice. But as writers, as much as we love stories and words, I believe we must also be interested in silences, the things we cannot talk about easily in our societies, the marginalized, the disempowered. In that sense, literature can, and hopefully does, bring the periphery to the center, make the invisible a bit more visible, make the unheard a bit more heard. And empathy and understanding speak louder than demagoguery and apathy. Stories bring us together. Untold stories and entrenched silences keep us apart. But how to tell the stories of humanity and nature at a time when our planet is burning and there is no precedent for what we are about to experience collectively, whether it is political, social, or ecological. But tell we must, because if there is one thing that is destroying our world more than anything, it is numbness. When people become disconnected, desensitized, indifferent, when they stop listening, when they stop learning, when they stop caring what is happening here, there, and everywhere. We measure time differently, trees and humans. Human time is linear, a neat continuum stretching from a past that is deemed to be over, done with, towards a future that is supposed to be pristine, untouched. Tree time is circular. Both the past and the future breathe within the present moment, and the present does not move in one direction. Instead, it draws circles within circles, like the rings you would find when you cut us down. Next time you walk by a tree, try to slow down and listen, because each of us whispers in the wind. Look at us. We're older than you and your kind. Listen to what we have to tell, because hidden inside our story is the past and the future of humanity.
Hi, I'm Adrian. I'm a 6th grader in Bronca, and I will be doing John F. Kennedy's inaugural address, written by Ted Sorensen. So let us begin anew, remembering on both sides that civility is not a sign of weakness, and sincerity is always subject to proof. Let us never negotiate out of fear, but let us never fear to negotiate. Let both sides explore what problems unite us, instead of belaboring those problems which divide us. Let both sides for the first time formulate serious and precise proposals for the inspection and control of arms, and to bring the absolute power to destroy other nations under the absolute control of all nations. Let both sides seek to invoke the wonders of science instead of its terrors. Together let us explore the stars, conquer the deserts, eradicate disease, tap the ocean depths, and encourage the arts and commerce. Let both sides unite to heed in all corners of the earth the command of Isaiah, to undo the heavy burdens and let the oppressed go free. And if a beachhead of cooperation may push back the jungle of suspicion, let both sides join in creating a new endeavor, not a new balance of power, but a new world of law, where the strong are just and the weak secure and the peace preserved. All this will not be finished in the first 100 days, nor will it be finished in the first 1,000 days, nor in the life of this administration, nor even perhaps in our lifetime on this planet. But let us begin. In your hands, my fellow citizens, more than mine, will rest the final success or failure of our course. Since this country was founded, each generation of Americans have been summoned to give testimony to its national loyalty. The graves of young Americans who answered the call to service surround the globe. Now the trumpet summons us again, not as a call to bear arms, though arms we need, not as a call to battle, though embattled we are, but a call to bear the burden of a long twilight struggle, year in and year out. Rejoicing in hope, patient in tribulation, a struggle against the common enemies of man, tyranny, poverty, disease, and war itself. Can we forge against these enemies a grand and global alliance, north and south, east and west, that can assure a more fruitful life for all mankind? Will you join in that historic effort? In the long history of the world, only a few generations have been granted the role of defending freedom in its hour of maximum danger. I do not shrink from this responsibility, I welcome it. I do not believe that any of us would exchange places with any other people or any other generation. The energy, the faith, the devotion which we bring to this endeavor will light our country and all who serve it. And the glow from that fire can truly light the world. And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. My fellow citizens of the world, ask not what America will do for you, but what together we can do for the freedom of man. Finally, whether you are citizens of America or citizens of the world, ask of us here the same high standards of strength and sacrifice which we ask of you. With a good conscience, our only sure reward, with history, the final judge of our deeds, let us go forth to lead the lands we love, asking his blessing and his help, but knowing that here on earth, God's work must truly be our own. Thank you.
My name is Liv Nicholson, and this is the story of the Dragon's Pearl. Once, a dragon found a large white stone, round and softened by the ocean and wind. As he admired it, it began to shine in his hands. How pretty, he thought. I will make this into a pearl. So day after day, month after month, for many years, the dragon went without eating and sleeping as he made the pearl. He carved the stone with his claws and smoothed it with his scales. He carried it into the clouds, rolled it in fresh raindrops, and bathed it in the celestial river. He polished it with pale chrysanthemum petals. Finally, it was done, perfectly round and luminously smooth. It was flawless and beautiful. As the dragon looked at it, a tear of exhaustion and joy fell from his eye and landed on the pearl. As the teardrops soaked into the pearl, it began to shine with a dazzling radiance. The dragon smiled with delight. Exhausted, he fell asleep in the light of the pearl. But the pearl continued to glow. The light was so lovely that it caught the attention of the Queen Mother of the Heavens. When she found out that the brightness came from the dragon's wondrous pearl, she sent 2 of her servants to steal it. The servants were able to accomplish this quite easily, as the dragon, weary from his many years of work, slept quite long and soundly. When the Queen Mother received the pearl, even she was astonished by its loveliness. No pearl, no jewel, no treasure in the heavens or on earth could compare. She quickly had a vault made in the deepest part of her kingdom that one could only get to by going through 9 locked doors. She put the pearl in the vault and tied the 9 keys to the doors onto her belt. When the dragon woke up and found his pearl missing, he began a frantic search. He hunted the oceans and mountains, the rivers and valleys. He flew through the celestial river, examining each star, but none gave the pure, clear light of his pearl. Eventually, the dragon was forced to give up his search. He had no idea where to look or where the pearl could be. But he did not give up hope that he would find it. Instead, he waited for a sign of it, and he did not wait in vain. On her birthday, the Queen Mother had a grand celebration. Inviting all the immortals of heaven, she held a banquet of peaches, an endless assortment of rich and delicious dishes made from the peaches of immortality. Fragrant and potent peach wine was served with each dish, and every time her glass was low, the Queen Mother called for more. So when the guests heralded her with compliments, flattery, and fine gifts, the Queen Mother recklessly decided to show off her stolen treasure. "My dear friends," she said impetuously, "your gifts and words are fine indeed, but I have something that far outshines them." And she took out the 9 keys, unlocked the 9 doors, and brought out the dragon's pearl. A hush went over the party as the pearl glowed with a light of such radiance that it flooded out of the palace and into all the heavens. As the light broke into the sky, the dragon, ever faithfully alert, jerked up his head. "My pearl," he said, and flew as fast as he could toward the light. When the dragon reached the Queen Mother's palace, he burst upon a crowd of admiring immortals, fawning over the pearl in the hand of a Queen Mother, pompous with pride. "That is my pearl," he cried. "Give it back." The Queen Mother was infuriated. "This is my pearl," she declared. "How dare you?" "It is mine," said the dragon, and looking at the flush of her cheeks and evading eyes, demanded, "You stole it, didn't you?" "I don't need to steal anything," the Queen Mother blustered. "I am the Queen Mother of the Heavens. All treasures made by the earth or heaven belong to me." "Heaven did not make that pearl," said the dragon, "nor did the earth. I made it with years of work and effort. It is mine." The Queen Mother began to panic, and she fled out of the palace and into the garden, clutching the pearl. The dragon pursued her, determined not to lose the pearl again, and the party guests followed, creating such a commotion of excitement and chaos that the heavenly grandfather, who tended to avoid his daughter's flamboyant parties, decided to leave his study to investigate the disturbance. The Queen Mother, flustered and agitated, ran through the garden, clutching the pearl, leading a great chase. As she reached the garden wall and could not run any farther, she was horrified to see not only the dragon and her party guests, but also her father coming after her. As they reached her, in a fit of terror, she threw the pearl over the wall. The dragon gave a roar of dismay, and all rushed to see the pearl fall deep into the celestial river. In the deep blue water that separated heaven and earth, the pearl seemed to grow larger and glow more radiantly. The dragon began to make movements to dive into the water when the heavenly grandfather stopped him. "Leave it there," he said, "and shame on you both. This pearl should not belong to one being. Do you not see that this is where it belongs, where everyone on heaven and earth can see its beauty and enjoy it?" Both the dragon and the Queen Mother, humbled, nodded, and the guests praised the heavenly grandfather's wisdom. And so did the people on earth, for now, when they looked up into the sky, the moon glowed down upon them.
My Financial Career by Stephen Leacock, written in 1910. When I go to a bank, I get rattled. The clerks rattle me, the wickets rattle me, the sight of money rattles me, everything rattles me. The moment I cross the threshold of a bank and attempt to transact business there, I become an irresponsible idiot. I knew this beforehand, but my salary had been raised to $50 a month, and I felt the bank was the only place for it. I shambled in and looked timidly round at the clerks. I had an idea that a person ought to open an account must needs consult the manager. I went up to a wicket marked accountant. The accountant was a tall, cool devil. The very sight of him rattled me. My voice was sepulchral. "Can I see the manager?" I asked, and added solemnly, "Alone?" I don't know why I said alone. "Certainly," said the accountant, and fetched him. The manager was a grave, calm man. I held my $56 clutched in a crumpled ball in my pocket. "Are you the manager?" I asked. God knows I didn't doubt it. "Yes," he said. "Can I see you?" I asked. "Alone?" I didn't want to say alone again, but without it the thing seemed self-evident. The manager looked at me in some alarm. He felt I had an awful secret to reveal. "Come in here," he said, and led me to a private room. He turned the key in the lock. "We are safe from interruption here," he said. "Sit down." We both sat down and looked at each other. I found no voice to speak. "You're one of Pinkerton's men, I presume?" he said. He had gathered from my mysterious nature that I was a detective. I knew what he was thinking, and it made me worse. "No, not from Pinkerton's," I said, seeming to imply I came from a rival agency. "To tell the truth," I said, as if I had been prompted to lie about it, "I'm not a detective at all. In fact, I'm here to open an account. I intend to keep all of my money in this bank." The manager looked relieved, but still serious. He concluded that I was a son of Baron Rothschild or a young Gold. "A large account, I suppose," he said. "Fairly large," I whispered. "I propose to deposit $56 now and $50 a month regularly." The manager got up and called to the accountant. "Mr. Montgomery," he said unkindly loud, "this gentleman is going to open an account. He will deposit $56. Good morning." I rose. There was a large iron door open at the other side of the room. "Good morning," I said as I stepped into the safe. "Come out," said the manager coldly, and showed me the other way. I went up to the accountant's wicket. I poked my ball of money at him with a quick, convulsive movement, as if I were doing a conjuring trick. My face was ghastly pale. "Here," I said, "deposit it." The tone of the word seemed mean. "Let us do this painful thing while the fit is upon us." The accountant took my money and handed it to another clerk. He had me write my name in a book. I no longer knew what I was doing. The bank swam before my eyes. "Is it deposited?" I asked in a hollow, vibrating voice. "Yes," he said. "Then I would like to draw out a check. My idea was to draw out $6 for present use." Someone handed me a checkbook, and someone else started telling me how to write it. The people in the bank had an idea that I was an invalid millionaire. I wrote something on the check and thrust it at the clerk. He looked at it. "What? Are you drawing it all out again?" he asked in surprise. I realized I had written 56 instead of 6. I was too far gone for reason now. I felt that there was no way to explain the thing. All of the clerks in the bank stopped writing to look at me. Reckless with misery, I made a plunge. "Yes, the whole thing." You will withdraw your money from the bank. Every cent of it. And you will deposit no more? the clerk asked, astonished. Never, I said. An idiot hope struck me that they would think that something had offended me while I was writing the check and that I had changed my mind. I made an awful attempt to look like a man with a fearfully quick temper. The clerk prepared to pay me the money. How will you have it? He asked. What? How will you have it? Oh, I caught his meaning without even trying to think, I said. In 50s. He gave me a $50 bill. And the 6? He said dryly. In 6s. He gave it to me and I rushed out. As the door swung shut behind me, I caught the echo of a roar of laughter that went up to the ceiling of the bank. Since then, I bank no more. I keep my cash in my trousers pocket and my savings in silver dollars in a sock.
Strict by Michael Rosen. Strict. We had a teacher who was so strict you weren't allowed to breathe in her lessons. She used to stand up in the front going, "No breathing." You had the whole morning to get through. The weak ones just kill over and die. You could hear them going down behind you. Kaboom, kaboom, kaboom. And there was always a whiny kid going, "Miss, can I go and do some breathing?" "No, you got all playtime to do it." "Oh, go on, miss, go on." Did you know at the beginning of the week there were 48 kids in my class, and at the end of the week there were only 5 of them left? Yeah, do you know at the end of the day you'd be stepping over kids just to get out of the classroom? Oh no. There's Melanie. What a shame. She is really nice. Hard luck, Dave. Always knew you're a bit weak. You know, people ask me, if that's true, how come you're here to tell the tale? Well, I'll tell you. It's because we used to sit at desks, not around tables like you do now, desks with lids. And whenever the teacher wasn't looking, you snatch a quick breath under the desk lid. So once more from the beginning. No breathing. The weak ones. Kaboom, kaboom, kaboom. The whiny ones. "Miss, can I go and do some breathing?" "No, you got all playtime to do it." "Oh, go on, miss, go on." Us a lot. Oh no, mistake. If you made any noise with the desk at all, it was at school prison. We had a prison under our school hall where they string you up from these wall bars. "Miss, I've been down for 3 weeks, and those wax, and the nibble in my toenails." So I figured out what you had to do was put your thumb around the edge of the desk lid, so when it went down, it made no noise at all. So once more from the beginning. No breathing. The weak ones. Kaboom, kaboom, kaboom. The whiny ones. "Miss, can I go and do some breathing?" "No, you got all playtime to do it." "Oh, go on, miss, go on." Me. Those other kids. Out, school prison. "Miss, I'm been down for 3 weeks, and there's wax, and the nibble in my toenails." Me. No noise at all. Survive.
Have you ever wondered what it would be like to be a woman in ancient Greece? Hi, I'm Anna, and I'll be presenting The Turret Invents the Amazons from Percy Jackson's Greek Heroes by Rick Riordan. We don't know much about Otrera from the old stories. Those ancient Greek dudes didn't really care where she came from or what made her tick. Why would that be? Number 1, she was a woman. Number 2, she was a scary woman. Number 3, she was a scary woman who killed ancient Greek dudes. Originally, she lived in the northern lands around the Black Sea, the same general area that would later produce great humanitarians like Attila the Hun. Who were Otrera's people? We don't know. That's probably because she killed them all. All we know is that at some point, she decided her life as a Bronze Age housewife sucked. She decided to do something about it. Now maybe you're wondering, what would make a lady go crazy, kill all the men in her tribe, and found a nation of homicidal women? Did I mention being a Bronze Age housewife sucked? If you were a woman back then, your best case scenario was that you might be born in Sparta. Now anytime Sparta is your best case scenario, you are truly stranded up Poop Creek without a paddle. At least in Sparta, women could own property. They were respected as the mothers of warriors. Young girls could help serve as acolytes at the Temple of Artemis, and, to please the goddess, help with the male human sacrifices so their blood stained the altar. For more details, see Spartans, complete freakazoids. If you were born female in Athens, the cradle of democracy, you were almost as bad off as a slave. And yeah, they had slaves. You couldn't own property. You couldn't vote in the assembly. You couldn't run a business. You weren't even supposed to go to the Agora, that community market and outdoor mall, although many women did anyways because, the lemon chicken at the food court was pretty tasty. Basically, you couldn't do anything except stay home, cook food, clean house, and look pretty, preferably all at the same time. The Athenian women couldn't even choose who they married. That was true for most women back then. As a child, your parents were your guardians. Read, your dad was your guardian because your mom was just there to teach you to clean and cook and look pretty. Your dad made all your decisions for you. Oh, you don't like his decisions? Well, your options were getting beaten, killed, or sold into slavery. Take your time choosing. When you were old enough to marry, and by that I mean like 12 or 13, your dad would choose your husband for you. The lucky guy might be older. He might be ugly. He might be fat. But don't worry, your dad would make sure he had the proper social standings to reflect on your dad's reputation. Your dad would pay your husband a dowry, a price for taking you. In return, your husband would be your dad's ally in political and business dealings. So while you're sitting at home, cleaning and cooking and looking pretty for your old, fat, ugly husband, you can take comfort in knowing it was the best choice to fit your dad's reputation. As a married woman, your husband made all your decisions for you. Oh, you don't like his decisions? See our options for punishment above. Starting to feel like a homicidal woman yet? Then maybe you know what motivated Otrera. Because the things I mentioned for Sparta and Athens? In the northern lands where Otrera was born, life was harsher and conditions for women were 10 times worse. When Otrera snapped, she snapped in a big way.
Hi, my name's Kylie, and I'm a 6th grader at Barranca Mesa Elementary School. My speech is Dear Graduates by Kid President. This is for all the graduates, whether you are graduating from high school, college, talking with your mouth full, whatever, I don't know. Let's put on flat hats and dream. This sort of looks like a cat toy. Dream about life. Dream about what's next. Dream about a world where people get along. I mean, can't Base and Trevor be friends? I'm looking at you, Megan Trainor.
Life's like a really good sandwich. It's all about how you make it. So fill it with the good stuff. Fill your life with the good stuff, people. We've been waiting for this moment, and here we are. It's a good moment. All moments are if you take a moment. As I look out here today, I see potential. I see future surgeons and future teachers, future Beyoncés. I take that back. There's only one Beyoncé. You know what? Be your own Beyoncé. Yeah, I said it. You can be your own Beyoncé. The world's more awesome just because you're in it. You add something to every room you enter, and I mean it. You're about to enter some new rooms, and they need you. We need to reach higher than we've ever reached. It's time to make awesome stuff happen. Stop hitting pause. It's time to start hitting play. It won't be easy, but anything can happen, right? I mean, like, have you seen Air Bud? It's a story of a dog playing basketball. They made like 18 of those movies. 18 Air Buds. Anything is possible, but they did it. Make the impossible possible. We all have the capacity for greatness. You could be like an Air Bud. I don't want to make you sad, but from what I've learned, school never ends. There are grown-ups that don't share. There are grown-ups that are bullies. They need to graduate from that junk. We're all just trying to figure stuff out. You are too. That's okay. If at first you don't succeed, you're normal. You don't have to have it all figured out. You do need to know that you are awesome, and you always got to treat people awesome. The world needs you. So carpe diem, that means seize the carpet, or carpe the day. Seize the, just go do something today. Go out into the world. We need people like you, people who care, people who dream, people who are their own Beyoncés. The world needs you. You. You got life ahead of you. Live it. Go be awesome. A tiny poem by Kid President. The world is so big and we're all so small. Sometimes it feels like we can't do anything at all. But the world can be better despite all its flaws. The world can be better and you'll be the cause. And even though the waves are bigger than our boats, the world keeps us sailing. Its love gives us hope. Some days are dark, but we'll keep on rowing. 'Cause people like you whisper, keep going, keep going, keep going. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lucia Regine, and I'm going to be doing Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, Chapter 1, Down the Rabbit Hole. Alice was beginning to get very tired of sitting by her sister on the bank and of having nothing to do. Once or twice she had peeped into the book her sister was reading, but it had no pictures or conversations in it. And what is the use of a book, thought Alice, without pictures or conversation? So she was considering in her own mind as well as she could, for the hot day made her feel very sleepy and stupid. Whether the pleasure of making a daisy chain would be worth the trouble of getting up and picking the daisies, when suddenly a white rabbit with pink eyes ran close by her. There was nothing so very remarkable in that, nor did Alice think it so very much out of the way to hear the rabbit say to itself, oh dear, I shall be late." When she thought it over afterwards, it occurred to her that she ought to have wondered at this, but at the time it all seemed quite natural. But when the rabbit actually took a watch out of its waistcoat pocket and looked at it and then hurried on, Alice started to her feet, for it flashed across her mind that she had never before seen a rabbit with either a waistcoat pocket or a watch to take out of it. And burning with curiosity, she ran across the field after it, and fortunately was just in time to see it pop down a large rabbit hole under the hedge. In another moment, down went Alice after it, never once considering how in the world she was to get out again. The rabbit hole went straight on like a tunnel for some way, then dipped suddenly down, so suddenly that Alice had not a moment to think about stopping herself before she found herself falling down a very deep well. Either the well was very deep, or she fell very slowly, for she had plenty of time as she went down to look about her and wonder what was going to happen next. First she tried to look down and make out what she was coming to, but it was too dark to see anything. Then she looked up the sides of the well, and noticed that they were filled with cupboards and bookshelves. Here and there she saw maps and pictures hung upon pegs. She took down a jar from one of the shelves as she passed. It was labeled orange marmalade, but to her great disappointment, it was empty. She did not like to drop the jar for fear of killing somebody, so managed to put it into one of the cupboards as she fell past it. Well, thought Alice to herself, after such a fall as this, I shall think nothing of tumbling downstairs. How brave they'll all think me at home. Why, I wouldn't say anything about it, even if I fell off the top of the house, which was very likely true. Down, down, down. Would the fall never come to an end? I wonder how many miles I've fallen by this time, she said aloud. I must be getting somewhere near the center of the earth. Let me see, that would be 4,000 miles down, I think. For, you see, Alice had learned several things of this sort in her lessons in the schoolroom, and though this was not a very good opportunity for showing off her knowledge, as there was no one to listen to her, still, it was good practice to say it over. Yes, that's about the right distance, but then I wonder what latitude or longitude I've got to. Alice had no idea what latitude was, or longitude either, but thought they were nice, grand words to say. Presently she began again. I wonder if I shall fall right through the earth. How funny it'll seem to come out among the people that walk with their heads downward. The antipathies, I think. She was rather glad there was no one listening this time, as it didn't sound at all the right word. But I shall have to ask them what the name of the country is. You know, please, ma'am, is this New Zealand or Australia? And she tried to curtsy as she spoke. Fancy curtsying as you're falling through the air. Do you think you could manage it? And what an ignorant little girl she'll think me for asking. No, it'll never do to ask. Perhaps I shall see it written up somewhere. Down, down, down. There was nothing else to do, so Alice soon began talking again. Dinah'll miss me very much tonight, I should think. Dinah was the cat. I hope they remember her saucer of milk at tea time. Dinah, my dear, I wish you were down here with me. There are no mice in there, I'm afraid. But you might catch a bat, and that's very like a mouse, you know. But do cats eat bats, I wonder? And here Alice began to get rather sleepy, and went on saying to herself in a dreamy sort of way, do cats eat bats? Do cats eat bats? And sometimes, do bats eat cats? For, you see, as she couldn't answer either question, it didn't much matter which way she put it. She felt that she was dozing off, and had just begun to dream that she was walking hand in hand with Dinah, and saying to her very earnestly, Now, Dinah, tell me the truth. Did you ever eat a bat? When suddenly, thump, thump, down she came upon a heap of sticks and dry leaves, and the fall was over. Thank you. Bye.
Let me tell you what happened. Bear with me here, because it's a pretty incredible story. Now, some people don't like having a little brother, but as you know, I really love my little brother. Aww. Oh, sorry, I just got distracted looking at my adorable brother, Baby Yoda. Baby Yoda really is special to me. We do everything together. Go to school together, eat together, play together, sleep together, and much more. But not all of our life is peachy perfect. Earlier in the week, Baby Yoda and I were playing together, when all of a sudden I heard what I thought was the sound of a plane. But when I looked up, I saw a spaceship. At lightning speed, it landed about 10 yards from me. A curious-looking alien came out and took my brother. I was so mad, and I decided I would try to rescue Baby Yoda, but I had no idea how to do it. On about the 5th day of searching for ways to help Baby Yoda, I had found an abandoned junkyard. I explored it, and I discovered a UFO.
I immediately ran and opened the door. Inside was a very sleek control panel. So I tried to fly it after looking over all the buttons. And I did. I looked at all the distant planets and decided to fly towards one. Everything looked exactly like the Star Wars movies. So the search began, but I still could not find Baby Yoda anywhere. On the next day of searching, I saw more aliens. And then I saw the alien that captured my brother. So I followed him into what looked like a warehouse. I crept in after him, and I immediately saw Baby Yoda. He was tied up, and the alien was telling him how valuable he was and that he was going to sell him. Well, I would not let this happen. So I jumped out at him as I instinctively reached towards my back pocket where I keep my knife. I know I'm not supposed to have it, but it's lucky I did, because I cut Baby Yoda free, shoved the alien into a wall, and told Baby Yoda to run to the UFO I had found. We quickly jumped in, and I quickly locked the door behind us so the alien could not get in. Then we flew back home, and that's why I haven't done my homework or chores this week, Mom.